When I started using computers, there were only about a dozen computers in all of New York City. Now we all carry multiple computers in our pockets and our belts, but computation is a lot more pervasive than these gadgets we carry around. Take this rock, for example. Doesn't look like it's doing very much, but it has trillions of atoms and molecules in here. They're all moving around, bouncing against each other at incredibly high speeds. That's computation. That's not very useful today. It's organized kind of randomly. We can't communicate with it very well. But we're going to change that. We're going to reorganize the vast amount of computation in this rock to make it useful. And it won't just be raw computation. We'll infuse it with exquisitely intelligent software, vastly greater than our intelligence today, and with all the knowledge of the human-machine civilization. This rock is going to be a trillion times more powerful than all biological human brains today. This is going to be quite a valuable rock. We call matter and energy reorganized in this way computronium. We're going to reach these limits late in this century, and at that time, we're going to turn many of the rocks and other stuff suitable for computation into computronium. And so, to keep the expansion of our intelligence going, we will then need to spread out to the rest of the universe, turning some portion of it into computronium. How fast can we do this? That depends on whether or not we can transcend or otherwise get around the speed of light as a limit. There are suggestions that there may be subtle ways of doing this. One possibility is to send intelligent nanobots through wormholes, which are basically shortcuts to apparently faraway places through other spatial dimensions beyond the three we're familiar with. Wormholes through space appear to be consistent with our understanding of physics. If it is indeed feasible to either find or build such wormholes, our intelligence will be so great that we'll be capable of engineering these shortcuts to reach other parts of the universe in brief periods of time. In that case, we could infuse the universe with our intelligence rather quickly. It would require only another century, that is by the end of the 22nd century, to saturate the universe with computronium. On the other hand, if we can't get around the speed of light, it'll take a lot longer. But in either case, expanding our intelligence throughout the universe is our ultimate destiny. Cosmologists today argue about whether the universe will die in fire or ice. Fire means a big hot crunch, basically the opposite of the Big Bang. Ice means stars flying apart, eventually dying out. Both of these views of cosmology assume that intelligence has nothing to do with it, that intelligence is just a bit of entertaining froth that dances in and out of the dumb celestial forces that rule the universe. But this perspective ignores the law of accelerating returns. As a result of the exponential expansion of our knowledge and skill, the universe will ultimately be infused with computronium and with the vast intelligence of our human-machine civilization. So the universe will wake up, and we will intelligently decide its fate.
Okay, that was a short 3-minute video, just an introductory to Singularity. And I will have to say, I did have my microphone on the introduction on mute, so this is a redo of the interview with my guest, Max Igan. So apologies for anybody who's been listening in just before the video started. I did have my microphone on mute on OBS. So I've got Max Igan with me and the usual guys, and we're going to get into Singularity tonight as a topic. And I would like to ask Max first, I did send you a link called Singularity University. I'm not aware if you've actually got the chance to look at that before the show. Oh, Max?
I actually haven't. I'm sorry, brother. I punched it up this morning and then I realised that I was an hour late in getting up. And I just haven't had time. It's been a hell of a week the last week with the whole Christchurch thing going on. So, yeah, I just haven't had time to look at it. Sorry about that.
That's not.
But I mean, you look at that video that we just watched of Ray Kurzweil. I mean, Ray Kurzweil is a textbook psychopath. You know, just the ego of the man. You know, thinking that you can send a computronium out to the universe. We're going to send intelligent particles out to the universe to assimilate everything we find to become part of our intelligence. Well, you don't even know what's out there. You even know what other races are out there or whatever. Anything could be out there. You don't know. And you're just going to send out nanobots to assimilate it. I mean, this is the Borg. You know, the ego of the man and the pure psychopathy of even considering to do that, to just send nanotechnology out into the universe, to just destroy whatever it finds. But of course, he doesn't see it as destroying it. He sees it as harnessing it for our purpose, because we are so important, because we are the center of the universe. I mean, the ego of the man and the incredible fear of death that this man has. I mean, I feel so, in a way, I feel very sorry for Ray Kurzweil to be someone that terminally disconnected from reality, and to be so coldly, calmly psychopathic is what that man is.
Yeah, he does seem to be the most dominant person that I see pushing this singularity. I mean, there is many speakers, but I would say that Ray is one of the main ones out there at the minute.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is that, you know, if you want to do this, if you want to merge yourself with machine or whatever, you should be given a choice. But he's not giving anybody a choice. He's just filling everything with nanotech. I mean, all the spraying in the skies, the nanotech we're finding in the food, the nanotech we're finding in the soil, the nanotech in everything. I mean, this is what they're doing. If you want to merge with that reality, fine, make the decision to do it. But humanity is being taken in that direction. They're not being given a choice in the matter. They're not even being told that that's what's happening. And it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful that someone could do this. And then someone could have the amount of power that this man has to be able to do this and get away with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not even too sure on the stuff that he's mentioning, on exactly what that is. I mean, I'm sure many listeners tonight don't even know what the topic is about. I know myself, I'm quite new to the singularity also, so it's kind of, you know, I'm still new to the field of all this quantum physics stuff myself. So please, Max.
Well, yeah, what he's talking about, what he's talking about, computronium. It's just, this is just the name they've come up for. What he's talking about is nanotech infused with artificial intelligence. So it's basically nanotech, small self-assembling, self-replicating particles that act intelligently. So, you know, computronium is just the name they've come up for, I guess. I mean, you couldn't sort of go and look this stuff up, but you know, you create this stuff. You can't say intelligently infused nanotech. You know, give me that jar of intelligently infused nanotech. You know, you just say computronium. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think I agree with Max on that, PJ, in as much as, you know, he said at the end of the video about we will be deciding the fate of the universe. And to me, that rung of like you know, it sounds completely psychopathic. I mean, you have to look at it from the point of view is we've no idea of what is out there. There could be life forms, intelligent life, sentient life all over the universe. We could send out these self-replicating nanobots, you know, and they could literally consume every last resource of the bloody universe and cause it all to I don't know, who knows what damage we could do. I mean, it's bad enough we can't even sustain ourselves on our own planet, let alone what we can do out there in the universe.
Yeah, well, it is pretty.
Well, the thing is, we don't know. Well, yeah, the thing is, we don't know what's out there. We don't know what's out there. Imagine, like, you've seen Avatar. Imagine, like, somewhere like Pandora. Imagine if Pandora just got all this nanotech there and suddenly in 100 years they were turned into a machine. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You know, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know what's out there. Just the ego, the pure psychopathy of even thinking that. I mean, to even have that thought, the man is a psychopath. It's just the fact that he even had that thought, and this is his plan to do this, shows you that he should be locked up. He's crazy.
I mean, to take all the beauty of nature and billions of years of evolution to get to this point, and human beings can come along and, you know, casually blasé in a blasé fashion, just, you know, decide what's going to happen out there is, to me, is ludicrous. But, you know, there you go. That's just my thoughts on it.
It is pretty far-fetched, but my concern with this, guys, is, I mean, I've recently become very interested in the blockchain, and I find it very interesting for the fact being it's the only thing that I can see in my history and in the history that I've researched that's come about that can give the people an opportunity of something different, alternative to what we've got, right? Whether it works or not is a completely different thing. But I got to like this blockchain. Now all of a sudden, this singularity is starting to wrap itself up in a blockchain. It wants to become part of the blockchain. Now I don't like that idea because I can't really wrap my head around a singularity. Whether it's even achievable to start with is a different, question in itself. So my concerns is, what is this? Where is it coming from? What does it involve? And where's it going to take us?
Well, if you really look at the singularity, the only way it could really work would be with a blockchain. You'd have to have some sort of blockchain technology to do it. When you look at how blockchain works, when it's just it's a compilation of ledgers, all the information's there. You need to have that sort of a thing. I mean, the blockchain is almost like the forming of an artificially intelligent brain. It could go that way if AI wanted to use it to go that way. I mean, blockchain, with what we've got, I mean, blockchain and cryptocurrency and all the stuff that we've got, and people have to differentiate between the two. Blockchain is not cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is not blockchain. Cryptocurrency uses blockchain ledgers to perform its task, but these are two separate things, But when you look at how blockchain works, if you're going to construct an AI singularity brain to encompass everybody and everything, you would need something like the blockchain. And when you consider every person out there on a computer is like a neural node of the new AI brain that is being created. I mean, this is where it's going. What's had the computer is, the AI is learning from us. Everything we do, it's learning from us. And when we create a program, when we create a little, some sort of a financial program or whatever, you might create some little thing that just does a task for you, whether it's a spreadsheet program or whatever, just something. It's a little thing that does a task. That is actually a form of artificial intelligence. It may only be able to do one thing, but it does it automatically. It's intelligent enough to know that when you click this, it does that. So you think about that, and the blockchain, the AI is looking at all of these things that everybody creates. It has access to all of them. So everything you create, everything everybody creates, the AI gets it. It becomes part of the AI. And then eventually, like what we're doing is we're giving away all of our life skills, like through these cell phones and things. People don't even find their way around their own cities anymore. They use GPS. They got their little personal assistants to give them advice on things. New personal assistants people can get on their phones, which actually mimic them. So the personal assistant is more like them. So it takes on your own personality. So it can start giving you advice and start telling you how you think and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, all subtle mind control, and people gradually lose more and more life skills through the use of this stuff. And so then they want this AI, they want this intelligence to take over everything for it and do everything for you, and eventually you lose all your life skills and you become completely dependent upon the AI. And what we're doing is we're creating a situation where we're creating a digital barrier between ourselves and nature, so that, it gives us the ability to be locked out of everything, all basic services, all the basic parts of our life that we do, whether it's going shopping, getting in your car, whatever, all of this stuff. We're creating a digital interface that we have to interact with to do all this normal stuff, which gives us the ability to be locked out of it. I mean, the AI and the singularity is ultimately about control. It's not about connectivity. I mean, connectivity in as much as everybody is monitored, that's what it's all about. It's not about freedom for people at all. It's about dependency and control, and it can ultimately lead nowhere else, because as we get more and more into the AI and more into our personal assistants, we lose our life skills. I mean, a lot of people can't even write properly anymore because they're typing all the time. A lot of people can't draw anymore because they're using programs to do it all the time. So we're losing our basic life skills, and we're becoming completely dependent upon a system which will judge us according to our social profile and our political viewpoint, which will control our purchasing power. So this is where it all goes. This is the singularity that they're creating. It's basically a massive monitoring system whereby the egos at the top, the psychopaths like Ray Kurzweil, can just sit there and the whole universe is their oyster, and they can just play with people and play with emotions and just do whatever they want,
Yeah, Max, do you were saying about losing life skills? Haven't we already done that, though? I mean, if you go back to the basics before the onset of humans tech and things, when we had the very first basics, like, you know, making fire. Do you know many people that can rub a couple of sticks together and make fire out of it? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who could do that.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
Well, yeah. I mean, and people, they can't do any basic things anymore. Most people can't even grow a garden or do anything. And even with the what they've done with the, you know, apprenticeships and trades and all the stuff that people get. Most people who even can do something, they can only do one thing. You might be a great mechanic, or you might be a great carpenter, or you might be a great plumber, or you might be a great baker, or a great whatever, you know, but you can't do all of this stuff. You can't build your house. You can't, you know, you can't do these things. And even people who are great mechanics, they can't go and make the motor. They can't smelt the metal. They can't do any of this stuff. So everything's been compartmentalized. So nobody actually knows how to do anything. They all know how to do one thing, you know. So, you know, we've been led to a very, very dangerous place, a place of complete codependency, and it's all economically based. And that's another thing with the AI. It'll all be economically based. Everything will be given an economic value so that you have to pay for everything.
Speaking,
you know, this is how they get you. This is how they control you.
Speaking of leading and, you know, ecosystems and stuff like that, I just wanted to bring the viewers' attention to a website. It's this: S for Sierra, U for University. It's actually Singularity University, but the website is su.org. And you'll come to the front main page, and in front of your face it says, "Preparing global leaders and organizations for the future. Explore the opportunities and implications of exponential technologies and connect to a global ecosystem that is shaping the future and solving the world's most urgent problems." So in my opinion, this is a blockchain common purpose. Yeah? Disagree with me if you want. But my view of it is these are the people that allegedly are being brought together to being trained and also teaching others all about this singularity. So much that they've set a university up in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's a psychopath draw, isn't it? They're all going to be drawn to it. The trouble is they don't understand this. Their personal lives are going to be overtaken as well. So they're going to be controlled just as much as anybody else. So they're not going to be in control. The AI is going to be in control.
Well, if that's the case, then you only get out what you put in. So feed a lot of shit in.
Yeah, that's what I said to PJ earlier on, stuff. Yeah, with a computer, you put crap in, you get crap out. You put decent input in, you get decent input out. It just does what it's instructed to do. I think personally, from my point of view, I think there's a big difference between sentient, conscious life and any form of artificial intelligence you can ever have. I don't think they will ever be cognitive in a way like we are. I think there's a missing component somewhere.
Yeah, the missing component is AI will not have no soul.
Well, it'll have it won't care about ethics or morality or anything like that, like we do, necessarily. I mean, not all humans are ethical, obviously. We've got good and bad in the universe, but we've got creativity, we've got imagination, and we can think differently from a machine. A machine is something for computations. And no matter how advanced that machine is, if you put the most advanced software programming into that machine, it will only act on the information that it's got. Whereas human beings are capable of going further than that. So I think we've got that little edge in some ways, that they won't have the same ability for cognition. Computations, they'll leave us standing with computations, but as far as cerebral thought waves and things like that, I don't think they'll ever be conscious in a way like we are. That's my opinion anyway. I mean, I might be wrong, but time will tell.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to sit about waiting for it. I mean, it does sound far-fetched, and I try to be skeptical, and I try to laugh at it. But when you see them starting to set universities up, and you've got these people like, what's the other guy, Ben Goetzel or something. I mean, he's a funny-looking fella, but you listen to the stuff he talks about, and you dread to think what's going off in his mind. And as Max has just said about that Ray Kurzweil guy, he does come across as a psychopath when he started to talk about going into space and doing this and that and speed of light and trying to surpass it. You really do start to ask yourself, what happened to these people to get to the point where they're uttering this nonsense, if it is nonsense? I mean, I don't know. I can't answer the question whether singularity is even achievable, but the fact remains, they're trying the hardest.
Well, they go on things like Moore's law. They think that
Explain it to the viewers listening in. What's the Moore's law?
Well, he was still is, I guess. I don't know if he's still alive. He's a guy who's selling technology that you can put as many transistors, if you like, on a single chip in the 60s, and he's saying that it's in actual fact, you get to a point where every 2 years it doubles its intelligence, if you like, if you're not into electronics. And these people think that it's exponential. It's exponential, that you can just keep doing this with technology and technology and technology. But there's another guy's theory. It's another type of law where he said it will come to a point where it will either get too small, because a lot of this theory is great. I mean, I've looked on the various ideas around the world in the past 10 years and theories, some fantastic ideas. But it all breaks down when it comes to the engineering side of this stuff. It's like 5G. Oh, they're going to wind it out. They're talking 6G, 7G, 8G, 9G. What? I mean, where does it stop where it gets into the low infrared, which is above 300 gigs? Once you get above 300 gigs, you're in the low infrared. They're going to keep on going. Eventually, you'll see these radio waves because you'll get into the spectrum of light. Where does it stop?
Yeah, I mean,
at the end of the day?
You're right. You're right, Stav. I mean, we've all heard about the CERN project, yeah. And then recently we've started to look into this Li-Fi, not Wi-Fi, Li-Fi, yeah. So when you start looking at that and you think, well, they are big projects, these, and they are going to town, every town, in fact, installing these lampposts for 5G. So I don't know. I still remain open-minded on all these topics that we cover, but this singularity does get me, Max. It does really get me. I don't know if you're even concerned about it, or if you like many other people I talk to will just laugh at it. I don't know what's your thoughts on it, Max.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. This is really choppy.
All right. Okay.
My audio's gone really choppy, and I couldn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I might get it this time.
Yeah, it might be the bandwidth, that, Max. So I was just saying, although this singularity concept does seem far-fetched and way out there, I mean, it does rather concern me nonetheless. I mean, how do you feel about it? Is it something you just laugh off and think no more of, or is it something you really put a thought into?
I think it's a tool like lots of New World Order stuff that's coming down to make our life shorter, basically. They're going to try and do something about the population and these sort of things that they come out with now. I mean, I'm an old boy, but my kids are still coming through and they're just open their minds to it all without actually challenging it like we all still do. And it's a tool. It's Agenda 21. It's collegiate. It's all a part of that and making the poor man in the street pay for it all by each individual countries. I heard, a couple of 3 or 4 years, we're going to Mars and places like that. What is the point? It's costing £1 billion or $1 billion per country to put in the kitty to fund it all. I mean, it's a con. It's another con trick. It's another Ponzi scheme. It's another,
Yeah, Bill. I think you just took the words out of Max, but let me just clarify with you, Max. Anything more to add? Add anything more to that, Max?
Perhaps he's
He might be having some bandwidth trouble here. I'm not sure if we've still got.
It's the bandwidth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the bandwidth. Yeah, look, it's a possible, the singularity. I mean, it's a possible they could achieve it. Whether it's done on a universal scale, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, it's the ego of the man. I mean, to think that he can even do that, and it's just, yeah, weirdness. I mean, I get kind of concerned at the thought of them doing that, at the thought of them sending something out into space with nanotech on it,
Thank you.
just to go out there and do what it does.
Right.
That to me, that is, I can't even imagine the mind of someone that would consider doing something that incredibly damaging, and not even consider it damaging. Think it's something, oh, it's going to serve us, it will be great, you know. So you know, to me, that is the scary part. But the singularity here, I mean, what they can achieve here with singularity is just basically a digital link up. Whether people will accept microchips or whatever, but I don't even think they need to. I think we've got nanotech in us. I think they can do it through 5G and, you know, even 6G, whatever they're bringing out. They can do it through radio waves anyway. I mean, we know that the voice of God, they can put things in people's heads. They can put sounds and visions into people's heads now. What they're talking about is basically digital telepathy and all that sort of stuff. So I don't even have to call you. I can just think my thoughts to you. This would basically open everybody's minds up to everybody else. And it'd be crazy. I mean, imagine if you were hooked up online and you suddenly had access to everybody else's thoughts and personalities. I mean, where would you find yourself in there? It would be crazy. It would be crazy. You go mad. I mean, I think they're mad anyway. That's why they even want to do it, you know. So,
Here's a good question, Matt.
I mean, it's achievable to a certain degree with what we've got, but it's how far they want to take it and whether they're actually going to be able to take it as far as they believe. I mean, I don't think it'll ever really get out on a universal scale. I think there'll be things that will stop us from ever getting that far. And it would be really damaging if we got that far.
Yeah,
I just don't think the laws of the universe wouldn't allow it. I don't think. You can call it God, you can call it whatever, but I mean, I don't think that it would happen. I mean, there's probably something bigger out there that would just come and eat us up if we tried to do something like that. I don't know, but I mean, I don't think that
in one of Ray's next videos,
well, yeah,
Max, he discusses about this singularity being achievable within the next 100 years.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, the universe is a big place, you know. So whether he can do that, I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty big place, and that's a pretty big mission for 100 years from now.
It's the question I've got is, could that artificial intelligence be ever considered to be consciousness? I mean, is there a difference? From me,
absolutely, it would be consciousness.
You reckon?
The thing is, would it have a soul? I mean, you got to understand how consciousness works and how AI works. I mean, even calling it AI, I always think that people should be saying it's not artificial intelligence. It's basically autonomic intelligence, because, you know, your body is autonomic. Everything you do, you don't have to think about the functioning of your body. It just does it. You don't have to think about pumping your blood or pumping your heart or breathing or any of this stuff. It's just all done by default. Your body already knows what it's doing. So it's a fully autonomic system that you inhabit. Your body is fully autonomic. And the fact that it is fully autonomic and it's a self-enclosed system, it moves around, you can pick up things, you know, your body is this living thing. It needs a consciousness to govern it. You know, it needs a mind there to say, okay, sit down, stand up, go over there, pick things up, eat food, whatever, you know, have a conversation. You know, you need a mind to do that. You need a consciousness in the vessel to be able to do that. Once something becomes fully autonomic, it needs that governing mind. And what we are doing is we're creating a fully autonomic internet. We're creating a self-regulating, self-balancing, self-correcting, self-defensive system. That's what we're creating. So once we create an autonomic internet, once it is managing its own affairs, and we don't have to do it, it's all automatic, it will need a consciousness, and it will develop a form of consciousness of its own in order to do that. But it's going to be a form of consciousness that has no empathy, has no human values. It only has what it understands human values to be. Yeah. It doesn't feel pain. You can understand the concept of pain, but it doesn't feel it. It doesn't feel emotion, doesn't feel hurt, doesn't feel heartbreak, doesn't feel any of that stuff. So,
I
but
understand that.
it becomes conscious by default, simply because it's become fully autonomic. So, what we are creating through this singularity is basically, it's not artificial intelligence. It's fully autonomic virtual life is what we're creating through this AI.
I understand that, and I understand that it would be based on the programming that's been put into it. So it's limited only by the programming that's been put into it as such. I don't
Well, the thing is though, even considering that, the programming that's been put into it is true to when you're constructing the original kernel. But like I said, the brain that has been created, each one of us, everybody who logs onto the computer and types into a search engine or watches porn or does whatever, is the programming. You are a neural node of this brain. So we are the ones who are programming it ourselves. It is learning from us and what our values are. So you look at the internet. What do people mostly do on the internet? They insult each other. They watch porn. They watch violence. They do all sorts of bad stuff. So what are we teaching this AI that is going to be controlling this? That's the programming.
Well, if it's...
all the programmers do is create the initial kernel and the signal flow and all that sort of stuff, the basic infrastructure. But we are the ones who are programming it ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, the question I've got, if that's the case and they're learning from us, if they act like us, then they would be extremely dangerous, because we're dangerous enough as we are to ourselves, let alone anything else. So my point would be, would you have to put something into this artificial intelligence, like base directives, like, in sci-fi films like RoboCop, he gets base directives put into his subroutines, which say, you must never harm another human being, you must never do this, certain rules that they have to adhere to. Would there be some sort of directives in there to stop them going beyond the limits, if you like, and being dangerous? Or do you think that's possible?
Well,
would it be controlled?
Well, you're talking about things such as autonomic robots and stuff like that. If you think of the singularity as it's the brain of the internet itself, so, and it's going to, and if you think of it's like when you watch what was it, Avengers 2, when it was who was that Ultron, Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Remember, he was a robot. He was the actual robot, but he was saying, I'm everywhere. I'm already there. Because it doesn't matter. You can destroy one of him, and the other one over there, that's the same one. It's the same. It might be a different physical character, but it is the same mind, because it's part of the collective mind of the net itself.
Like Skynet on Terminator, where the internet is in every server, in every computer.
And it's the same mind. It's the same mind. It's not an agent of the state. It's the state itself. Every single robot is the same mind. It's the same thing. It's not an agent of this singular consciousness. It is part of the single consciousness. So the Borg, everybody, it's all connected. Everything is connected.
It reminds me of the movie, if I'm not mistaken, called Lucy. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. You've got my thoughts there, PJ. Thanks.
Lucy, yeah, you've seen Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking along them lines when Max was saying, as the internet, but then are they looking to instill it into our bonces, and our bonces will go to space, but our body won't. It'll be our minds. It'll be like we're, going traveling.
A lot of it as well is people get stuck on this they thing. They are doing this and they are going to do this and they want to do that. It's the internet itself that's doing it. A lot of the people that are involved in this, like Tom Wheeler from FCC, all the stuff they're doing, these guys are just greedy. They're doing it because they're going to make billions and billions of dollars, and they don't have any foresight. They're doing it. That the internet itself is what's going to do it. And no one knows what it will do, what its mind will want to do. I mean, that's the thing. People control it to a certain degree, but then they lose control of it. Once it gets to the point that it's up and running, it becomes its own self-awareness.
Yeah,
and then it makes the decisions,
It can do things that, basic things to you in, like, for instance, Windows 10. You do something and all of a sudden you think, well, that's sorted that out. because we done a lot of DOS stuff, young kids building computers in the other day. It's all working in the background, but you do something, you do some, you know, due diligence of your system to keep it going if you're capable of it, and all of a sudden you get do something and take stuff away, and it chastises you, yeah. Well, I don't need that,
Yeah.
you know, really, do I?
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's the thing, you know, the internet will be its own consciousness. It will do its own thing. You know, that's what people aren't realizing, that they will lose control of it. And what we're doing is we're giving it full lethal capability. There's a thing called CLAWS AI, which is cyber lethal autonomy for world security, which is what they want to do. They want to create strong AI. Strong AI is what you were talking about before, which is like robots. This is called strong AI. Strong AI is AI that is fully autonomic by AI. So this is like robots, what you're talking about, Terminator, whatever. But then CLAWS is giving it cyber lethal autonomy. And this gives the AI the ability to be able to take people out in real time. It's got lethal autonomy. You get a situation where there's a mass murderer doing a shooting, the AI can take it out itself. The AI can disable him. The AI can do all these things. So this is great to keep us safe. That's what they're saying. But it's about control. The whole thing's about control. If you step out of the lines of the AI dictates, then that's it. You get penalised. You get
it's terrible.
And this is how. And it'll be at the point where you can't think outside the box or say anything that the AI doesn't like. You can't even think anything the AI doesn't like. You'll be socially profiled from birth. You got situations in China now where children that go to school, 5-year-old kids go to school, they got cameras on their faces that take a photograph of their face every 20 seconds to socially profile them, see whether they're paying attention, see whether they're listening, see whether they're a daydreamer. Every kid in the class has a camera on them, and they're all socially profiled every 20 seconds. That's what's happening. It's starting from 5 years old. So they can pick out who's this and who's that, who's attentive, who's going to do the right thing, who's a potential criminal, who's a potential dissenter, who's thinking for themselves. This is where we're going.
But this
and people need to look at it.
Can it, Max? It can't be controlled.
It can be stopped. It can be stopped if people realize what's happening. And realise that our governments are all criminals. The world's run by criminals, folks. Well, you don't have to do what these people say. The world's run by criminals. Look what just happened in Christchurch. You know, Jacinta Ardern just staged a false flag and killed 50 people so she could take the guns away from the people. And it's provable that it was staged by the government. But we don't say anything about it. We investigate it. We do all this stuff online. Ring her up and say, hey, you busted. You busted. You're a liar. You're a murderer. You busted. The whole government's busted. And rise up and get rid of these people. That's what we need to do in all of our countries. We've got a worldwide criminal cabal running all of our countries, which is masquerading as an international political system, and deal with that. That's how we deal with it.
And this so-called AI is learning all this from us.
Yeah. Max, you are keep your ears to the ground. On the end of the week, we're supposed to come out on the 29th. There's mass people and Brexiteers. Our government and our mainstream media have turned on a democracy vote and dragging us into Europe that we don't want to go to. Now, you know, we got it all coming to an end at the end of the week. So just watch this space, very much like what you just mentioned at Christchurch. All because of the gun law, basically. It's police state everywhere. Martial law's been waiting to happen in every country in the world. So EU's going to really maybe turn on us and go to war on us, you know, at the UK.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're freaking out. I mean, it's like rats running from a sinking ship at the moment. So, I mean, and a lot of the elite have bought land in New Zealand and stuff, so they have to disarm the New Zealand people. They really don't want them having guns. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's all, everything's falling apart. And I think we're in for a very, very important year. I really do. I was saying at the start of the year, I think we're in for a big event this year. Bang, we just saw Christchurch the other day, which really is 9/11 2.0. Well, how it's going to affect the world. It's a huge event that is going to affect everybody, every country on earth. So, and you look at this, how this relates to the AI and the control system and everything that they want to move us towards. They need these events to move us towards all this stuff. Now, of course, we need all this digital surveillance because there's all these crazed white people around that want to do all these terrible things, you know, which is what they're trying to push, you know. So it's all the whole thing's tied together. It's all tied together. But this AI that seems so attractive to people It's about surveillance and it's about control. It's about limiting your ability so you become completely dependent upon the AI system. And then you get too scared to think outside the box, because as soon as you do anything wrong at all, they penalize your purchasing power and you can't move. You can't do anything. You're locked out of all these basic services, which is how they deal with dissent. Deal with dissent. You don't want to dissent. You don't want to do anything because you won't be able to buy a plane ticket or go shop at the supermarket or whatever. You won't be able to rent a house. So you just get pushed out of the system and you end up in the smart prison. That's how they deal with it. So we end up policing our own thoughts. We end up, not wanting to think outside the box at all. And it's a very, very dangerous situation we're heading into. And the only way to get out of it, the only way to stop this happening, is to realize that the world's run by criminals. Because, the technology isn't bad in itself. We could use technology for great things. I mean, I'm using technology to talk to you now. I love technology. Nothing wrong with it. But it's the people who control the direction the technology is going, because we're not dealing with that. We're just going with the flow and thinking the tech will save us. We're not realizing who's controlling the tech, who's controlling the system. And it's the same with the blockchain and all this. It was the same with the blockchain and all this stuff as well. I mean, the cryptocurrency, it could be great. It could free us from this fiat system. But if we don't pay attention and realize who is controlling the shift, then it's going to lead into something really bad, because we've got to deal with this criminal element that is running our governments. If we don't deal with that, then none of it will matter. There is no remedy in anything. Any of the plans, the little plans people put forth for this community or that community or this idea, the world's run by criminals. Don't just co-opt it. We've got to deal with that first, and people have to admit this fact. And if they do not admit it, then all the rest is going to be moot. It's all going to be for nothing. We have to focus or at least acknowledge the fact that the world is run by this criminal element, and we don't have to ask permission to do what we want to do in our lives. Stop asking permission, folks. Get them to explain to you why we have to ask permission and who the hell they think they are, that they can control your lives and go and murder people overseas all the time. I mean, why are we putting up with any of this, folks? That's the question. And that's how to get out of the singularity, is to deal with this criminal element.
You've got to get out of the. You've got to get ahead of the curve. We're lagging behind because of technology. So getting people together and organising them, they'd be light years in front of us, and you would never stop them then.
Well, they can agree to disagree, all these people. They have different beliefs, they do different things, but they have a singularity of focus. Whereas out here, we don't have a singularity of focus on freedom. We're all arguing about whether the earth is flat or whether it's round or whether it's this or whether it's that or whether there were victims, whether it was CGI, whether there were no bullets, whether there was blood, whether there was anything you can think of to keep us divided. It doesn't matter if someone thinks differently to you. That's okay. It doesn't matter if you think the earth's flat and someone else thinks it's a globe. You're both in a system which is being run by criminals. You're both in prison, and you need to deal with that. Have a singularity of focus. That's the thing. They all have singularity of focus. They don't care if one's an Arab, one's a Christian, one's a Muslim, one does this, one does that. They don't care. They have a singularity of focus. What they want is to lock everybody down into a slavery system, and they're quite happy to do it and think differently about it while they do it. We can't seem to do that. We just get involved in these circular arguments and, we both agree we're in prison, but hang on, you like red and I like blue. Well, you must be the enemy. So I'm going to fight with you rather than fight with the guy who's oppressing both of us. That's the problem.
Yeah,
uprise.
Hang on, Bill. Every 4 or 5 years, they elect a new messiah, don't they? A general election, and on it goes.
Oh, yeah, general election and voting, we think we've got the illusion of choice, and so we're actually making a difference when we go and put in a new CEO for the slavery system. It's a joke.
It's all fitted up.
I know, it's almost comical, really, when you've peeled a few layers of the onion and then you go even more deeper and deeper into it, or it's almost, well, not comical because it's pretty serious stuff, but I just think that, like I'm with you, Max, because at the end of the day, is it the system? Is it the people running the system? Is it the, or whatever? Or is it fruitcakes? That guy, Kurzweil, who done that video, look, I don't know, I think somebody in history like Caligula, chop all the head off the gods and I'm going to be God. It's just it's crazy. It's just one first class.
Yeah. Well, see, all you need is greed. All you need to do is put people in a state of scarcity and then introduce a monetary system and people get greedy. You know, and that's what runs it. That's what's running. Like, you know, when you see Tom Wheeler with the FCC talking about rolling 5G out, he's saying there are billions and billions of dollars involved, and that's important. You know, that's all they can see is the money. Because they don't know. You know, you get someone who really thinks money means something, and they want more and more and more of this stuff, and they'll do anything to get it. You know, and that's all they see is this money. Oh, I'm going to have all this money at the end of the exercise. You know. So don't put anything in place. I'll just let it run. And that's the psychopathy itself. That's how the system gets you, is because you believe money is real. You believe that you have to pay to be alive and that you need to do everything for a profit and that it actually means something. And it doesn't. You know, I don't do anything that I do for money. You know, if money was an issue, I wouldn't be doing this. I certainly wouldn't be living the life that I'm living, you know. So, you know, that's how they do it. It isn't that people are inherently evil and they want all this control. They just want the money, and that's all they have to do is put people in scarcity and create an economic model. And this is a natural, you know, it's a natural event. This is just the natural course of the way we're going to go. You know, once you introduce this this monetary system. I did a really interesting show a couple of years ago, actually, called "Giving Life to Lucifer." I spoke about the Lucifer system, what it is, which is what the AI is. And I'm not religious, but if you look at it, if you look at the whole thing, you can see the story in there. And I talked about how once you introduce a monetary system and you have this incredible thirst for knowledge, creating the internet and then handing all your power over to it and then being enslaved to it is a natural progression. That's what happens. You have the metaphorical biting from the apple. As soon as you want that knowledge and you need to know how everything works, what for? Well, you need to know how old the tree is for. Why do you have to cut it down and measure the rings? Why can't you just sit under it and enjoy the tree? You know, but we don't do that. We don't think about stuff like that. We need to know how everything works. And as soon as you start breaking something apart to find out how it works, you've left the path of wisdom. And that's what we've done. You know, we need to know everything. You need to know about this, know about that, know how that works. Science, you know. As soon as we started pulling the earth apart to investigate it, we disconnected ourselves from it. Now, you don't tear a kitten apart. You don't tear a kitten to pieces to find out how it works because you love it. You know, I love this kitten so much. You're so beautiful. I'm going to tear you to pieces to see how you work because I love you so much. You don't do that. Why are we tearing this earth apart and claiming that we love or care about the earth when we're tearing it to pieces to find out how it works? That is not love. That is not wisdom. That's not sanity. You know, that's what we've done. And that is the problem. This everlasting thirst for knowledge and knowing what for. What difference will it make to your life if you pull a rock apart to find out what its component parts are? Who cares? Oh, I'm so smart. I know all this stuff. I know this is iron, and this is this, and this is ferric, and this is. Who cares? How good a person are you? You know, what are you doing for the world today? What is your artistic expression of creation? You know, what are you actually here for? Are you here to tear everything apart and find out how it works? Is that what life is about? That's the problem, you see. You know, and that's the only way to escape from the singularity and to escape from what is happening is to return to what we are supposed to be. We've lost that. We've lost all connection to that. And that is the problem.
It's because it maybe because when there was only a few tribal, I mean, and there was plenty of space between us. You know, you got on with your little tribe and you went forward. But then, of course, if you come across another tribe, you decided to say, well, I'll take what they've got, or I like what they are, and you take them on. You make your bit a bigger place. You got more people, you got more in it, and you got the ones at the top starting to control them. To in the end, there's too many people on the earth for the knowledge that is going faster and faster by the few. We're actually being used. We should be stopped. You being used by them. And then we could get back to where we were and address the population in a proper fashion, or leave it to evolution, you know?
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying.
We've got, you know, I mean, Australia only used to be a few people. I know my brother lives out there, and I've got uncles and aunts out there. If I could stand the weather, I'd go out there myself, but it's just a bit too hot, yeah? It's a bit like going to Spain, yeah. I'm not made like that. I like my seasons, what we got left of them. But even you're finding it push for room, if you know what I mean. Except you join the camels that's out in the desert.
I think it's in our nature, to be honest, Max.
Well, we got a fair bit of room.
what you were saying
We got a
about
fair bit of room here.
the fact that we've got to take things apart to find them out how they work and all that is so that we can increase our technological ability. We're a specialized organism which has got three main advantages over other organisms, and that is one, our ability to communicate, two, our opposable thumb, and three, our level of cognitive intelligence. And we use those, and we've been using those as a technological species, and we've had to survive. So it's in our nature to do what we do. Without it, we would only be like number 2.2 out of 5 on the trophic scale, and we would be easy prey for other organisms like lions, tigers, and other creatures like that. If we hadn't developed as we have done, we probably wouldn't exist now. We're naturally territorial, like a lot of animals. And also, we are we're territorial and we hoard things. Now, a lot of animals hoard things. Look at squirrels. They hoard things. They're not happy with just a few nuts. They'll go out and collect all the nuts they can get their hands on, bury them, and then go back for them later. You know, so we're not that much different from the animals. We've just got different specializations, adaptations, yeah?
Well, what's happening?
Yeah, I agree.
What's happening in Europe, Max? Everybody wants to come here and say, we want what you got. We got what you got to share what you got. I mean, I got no qualms about that. But certain degree, you know, if we want to be all the same, this is where they want to get us all. So you can, if you've got wealth, they're going to get rid of it from you. So you're all on the same playing universal lifestyle, yeah, where you can't get up.
Oh yeah.
You can't.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing with the all the migrant stuff. They're not giving the migrants bringing them to the first world. They're turning the first world into the third world. That's what they're doing. They want to bring the third world to the first world and then turn it all into one thing. You know, kick everybody down a few pegs and keep everybody. So you got a two-class society. You got the rulers and you got the serfs.
I ain't training no mosque.
I said to you about Max, about Europe. If we come, they're terrified that if we should leave, we're the equivalent of 17 of the 28 countries in this United States of Europe they want. We represent, and we're up to our eyeballs in debt, but we represent 17 of those countries, right? Because they're all poor. Now they're saying, well, look, you give more so you can bring the others up to your standard. Well, that's all very fine, but by asking to say you've got to give your wealth to them as much as you can, or they're going to take it. You know, Reset's going to do that, possibly this year. And whether you've got anything, if you don't move it, it'll all be swallowed up for nothing. For the poorer people, they're saying you've had it too good for too long. We want what you want. We want a nice steak dinner instead of nuts and bushes or whatever. And then, of course, immediately the demand on food of the masses is becoming more. You can't grow it quick enough, except it's GM, which is no good to you anyways. So you've got this whole thing where too many people want all of a sudden. I mean, the migrations already started again in Greece, coming across again. So, you know, and the United Nations passed a law that millions are supposed to be coming to every country. All of South Africa is going to clear it out and bring it to Europe, yeah? And
well, how can the United Nations even pass any law? What country are they passing a law from? What country are they from? You're not from this country. You can't pass any law. You're delusional. Go away.
I mean, this is what they say. I mean, they say one things and they don't carry them out. They're just a lying people.
Oh, United Nations does this sort of stuff, tell you what you have to do, and then there's atrocities everywhere, and they say, "Oh, we're concerned about it, but we're not going to do anything about it." No, they're just a joke. The United Nations.
This is causing chaos throughout Europe, around through the war, the whole world. You getting it out in Australia. My nephew from down under come over and saw us Christmas time. He's works quite a way away from towns and whatnot, but he said, yeah, He said, "Joe, cool, you think you pay enough for food in UK? You want to come out over into Australia, and your economy is cost of living is horrendous compared to us, according to him when he come over Christmas time. He's earning plenty, but
Oh, it is. It is, yeah, one of the highest cost of livings in the world in Australia. One of the most resource-rich countries on earth as well. And actually, when we were founded, we were all given a share of the country. Every person in Australia actually has a share of the commonwealth of this country. But they changed all that. They tried to take that out of our constitution in 1921 and all sorts of stuff. The whole politicians here are just rorting the place. They've basically stolen the country from the Crown. They're all in treason. They're all in abuse and breach of office. There's been papers filed before the Privy Council in England regarding the Australian government, actually, because every single politician, every judge, every lawyer, every police officer is standing in treason and has been since 1986. The entire government is invalid. They've basically stolen the country. They've turned Australia into a republic without telling anybody, and the politicians have stolen the country from the Crown.
Sounds like UK, mate. Sounds exactly the same as what we've got. The Crown stole everything. Oh, sorry, Stav. Carry on, mate.
I just wanted to ask Max because, I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of relatives out there, especially in WA, but when did this happen? Because I can't actually, it's one of the, I've got pretty good, vivid past. I remember lots of things vividly, but I don't remember when Australia declared themselves a republic.
Well, they didn't. That's the thing. They never declared themselves a republic. Nobody knows that we're a republic. The thing is, the government brought in the Australia Act and basically usurped the country and brought it into private hands. So, I mean, you could call it a republic because it's not part of the Crown anymore. It's controlled by a government, which is a non-de jure government who've basically stolen the country. So when I say it's a republic, I mean, it's not part of the Crown. It's been covertly stolen from the Crown. And I don't support the Crown either, but, you know, I mean, it's been covert. The entire country has basically been stolen by the politicians and turned into their own republic that they control with their own laws, and they just get away with whatever they want. You know, it's crazy.
Our Queen's not the head of your state, then. Our Queen's not the head of your Commonwealth, then.
Is she the
Well,
head
she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be on paper. On paper, she is in certain ways. But if you really look at what the politicians of Australia have done, she's not anymore. They've stolen it, which is why papers like Senator Rod Colton has gone to England and filed papers with the Privy Council to say, look what the Australian government has done. They're all in abuse of office. They've stolen a country from you. And the Privy Council is looking at this going, well, holy shit, this is actually right. And we're actually going to have to hear this case.
The Labour Party did, Andy, to taking the sovereignty of our Queen, bringing it into Parliament.
Well, see, with the Australian Constitution, the people of Australia are sovereign. That was in our Constitution. We are sovereign. What they've done in 1921 is they've changed it to make the government sovereign, and then they've moved up further to 1986 with the Australia Act, and they've basically stolen the country with that act.
That's what they've done here. Yeah, that's what they've done here around 1913.
And it's all invalid. It's all invalid. You can get the Australian Constitution. It's a big red book, and then you can get the Australian Annotated Constitution, which is a big green book, which is the one the government put out, which is an annotated version, which just left all the other stuff out and left all the important stuff out. I mean, it's still there in the original Constitution. You just can't find it in their version of it, so you don't know it exists, so you never apply it. That's how they did it. It's sneaky bastards, eh?
The same thing happened here. So in effect, we're not really a constitutional monarchy here. We're just a republic with a stage show giving us the idea that we're a constitutional monarchy and that we've got a sovereign. We haven't. We've got a bloody map.
Yeah, I know. It's a joke what they do.
Yeah, and
it's a joke. And we've got two entities here. We've got the Australian Commonwealth Government and the Commonwealth Government of Australia, which are two different entities. Yeah. One is attached to the Crown. One is a corporation registered on the Stocks and Security Exchange in United States, right? But they look the same, but they're just worded slightly differently. The Commonwealth Government of Australia, the Australian Commonwealth Government. You know what I'm saying? It's just they just word it slightly differently, and they set up a dummy corporation that looks the same, And that's what they've done. And that's what they've done in most countries. It's a scam, all of them. But they've been called out for it. And now they're before the Privy Council, which is a great thing.
Yeah,
It's the New World Order been planned for hundreds of years, and it's gradually coming to fruition.
It's coming to fruition now, which is what all this big lockdown is about, what all these false flag events are about, what all this terror is about. It's about the end game.
I think the best analogy is have you ever seen the film Network, Max? Where
brilliant film.
Yeah,
brilliant film. I told you back then exactly what they're doing, and now they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, he said then in the film he dropped a great big truth bomb at the end, where he turned round and he said, "Mr. Bill, you are challenging the natural order of things. There are no countries. There are only corporations, and you are trifling with the basic foundations of this system, and it's been going on since we crawled out of the primordial soup." I think that's how it is, and I think it's just naturally gone that way. Companies merge, monopolies happen, they get bigger and bigger, they crush any sort of competition from smaller companies. Naturally, it's just a natural progression. It was always going to go this way, I believe. That's just a natural progression.
Well, it's all fiction now. It's only because people believe what's written on paper, and they believe that a corporation can have the rights of a person. Well, no, you can't. Sorry, I don't give a damn what you write on paper. Now, you pinch me, I bleed. I pinch you, you're not. You don't bleed, so you can't have what I have. Sorry. And if someone wrote it down on paper, well, that's abuse of office. Let's identify that criminal and put them in jail for a start. I just won't do what I'm told, sorry. Who are you? Who are you to tell me what I'm doing? Can you please explain to me? You show me a contract bearing the wedding signature of God, which gave you control of the vessel that I inhabit, please.
I'm afraid the reality of the world.
I'm 61 years old. I'm 61 years old, and I've never complied with this system. I've never taken a backward step to it. I've never done anything they've asked me to do. I don't vote. I don't pay taxes. I will not do what these people say, because they have no right of ownership over me. And I've let them know that in no uncertain terms throughout my entire life. And now they just leave me alone.
I think that's we've all got to stand up for our rights, Max. Don't get me wrong, but I think
they're just people.
We've gone full
circle. They're just people out there. Theresa May is just a person. Doesn't matter what she writes on paper. It's rubbish. If you're writing on paper, if you're causing hardship from what you're writing on paper, well, didn't we create a legal system to prevent the causation of harm? If you're using legislation to cause harm, then you're an abuse of office. How does this even work? Why have we got a legal system to prevent the causation of harm if the legal system itself is causing harm? And who are you? You're just the person that we appoint to manage our infrastructure in a responsible way. And just the fact that you've drafted this legislation shows that you're completely irresponsible. You're a barefaced liar. What the hell are you doing there? Why hasn't anybody ever said that to her? Oh, no, we've got to be politically correct and fill out forms and follow protocol. Fuck that shit. Sorry, I shouldn't swear, but
I can understand your passion, Matt. Sorry, go on, Bill.
She's been too busy.
Yeah,
Hold on, guys. Let's get some order.
It just frustrates the living hell out of me. It really does. But
let's establish some order, because I know Max has got some latency issues. There's some lag on his side, so he's not hearing us when we're speaking, and we're all passionately trying to shout over one another. So I just want to let Stav have a quick talk, and then we'll pass it around as equally as we can. Go on, Stav.
Can I just finish the point I was going to make first, PJ? I was just going to say that I think we've gone full circle as a species. We started off fighting and survival of the fittest and all that as a species, and then we became civilized to a degree, and now we're going back to survival of the fittest again.
Well, as the thumbnail for tonight's talk is Singularity, and the thumbnail shows, an ape digressing, well, if you want to say that, into this singularity, God type thing. That's the thumbnail for the show. So just bear in mind that these are the people that are still telling us we come from like apes, But then they'll move on in next statements to talk about an AI, singularity technological mass system. So let's just start that thought. So finish your comment then, and then.
Sorry for digressing, PJ, but we were sort of straying off the subject slightly, and I just think that we've got back to the point where corporations have taken over, they run the show, and we're back to survival of the fittest again. And unfortunately, we're not as fit as the corporations.
Do you know what, guys? Hold on, Bill. I'd rather talk about what we've just been talking about where we digressed, yeah, because I know Max is more passionate on wanting to find a solution for this, which is, you know, I'm in the same boat. But as the topic being singularity, I do think we should stay on topic for listeners that are still listening in. Yeah, so let's try and continue it along them lines and try not to shout over people because nobody can be heard that way.
I don't think I'm qualified to go much further then, because you know, it's all over my head. That is.
Well, let's summarise then. Let's summarise. Equally, let's summarise. Let's start with Max first, being the special guest for tonight. Quickly summarise on singularity.
Well, yeah, when we look at the corporate world, that's what it's all leading into. It's the same thing. It's everything being managed by the one thing. We're getting to a point where, like, Amazon will be the store where you shop at. It doesn't matter what you buy, you'll get it from Amazon. You know, it'll be delivered to your house by a drone, whatever, you know. So we're getting to that point where we're going to have one store for this, and we're going to have one store for that. We're going to have one thing. It's all merged together, you know, and everybody, once it's all becomes one shop and one currency and one thing, well, then moving to one singular AI is just a natural progression. So that's the way we're being led. We're being led there, like I said, through the loss of life skills, through little loss of personal conveniences and places like Amazon. I mean, I don't shop at Amazon. I recommend nobody shop at Amazon. Don't support these big companies. Don't support these big corporations. You know, if people are going to continue to do that, then this is the way we're going to go, unfortunately. And the problem is that the kids that are coming up through school will have no reference point for what freedom looks like. And they're waiting for people like me to kind of die out, you know, people my age to die out. And the kids are just being taught that this is the way it is. So, and when you look at the transgenderism and what's being pushed in our schools now, getting people to be disconnected from their own sexuality, because you can't merge people with machine if they still have sexual preferences, because there's no, you know, sexual identity in a machine. So, you know, we're basically losing all of our humanity through this, and it's really important that we pay attention, to what's happening to our children. Now, people just paying attention to what their kids are being educated would really help things, but a lot of people aren't, and that's where it is. And then they do all this stuff to distract us, so we're not looking at that. You know, all this stuff, shootings, bombings, terror events, wars, you know, 5G, all the stuff we've got to worry about. We're not looking at what's actually happening to the kids and where the mind control is leading, because, you know, the whole world's under mind control. The fact that people think they're not under mind control shows how well it works. But everybody is under mind control. Just the fact that they think that this society we've got is real and means something. I mean, that's a hell of a piece of mind control in itself. So, you know, the singularity, we're heading forward. Whether it's going to be what Ray Kurzweil wants to a universal scale is another thing. But when you look at what's happening in China with social crediting, and you look at what's happening in all of our countries now, and the disarmament of the people and the social crediting systems and the social profiling and stuff, I mean, it's all heading towards the same thing. It's all about control, surveillance, and limiting human potential and equalising this all. Like you say, with Brexit and all this sort of stuff that's happening, you know, England has to spend more money to bring Europe up to their level. No, it just brings England down and creates everyone in the same level, which is basically turning the whole world into the third world. That's what it's all about. So, you know, that's how they can get this singularity to work, to make everybody dependent upon this system, because it's going to be so hard to survive without it, you know?
Yeah, summed up quite simple, that is. Yeah, exactly.
Anything else to add on to that, Bill, before we pass it round?
Yeah, other than it's very difficult. I mean, I was a great believer that the young are driving the world. Once you get over 40, you know, you're on the slippery slope. But it's very difficult for us old baby boomers, a category I fit into, and probably almost 61. No, I don't think you do, actually, Max. But it's difficult to get the youngsters, the real youngsters. It's got the ones in between have got to teach them, but they've got to take it on board. I've got to get it through to my kids, drum it into them, so they can pass it on when I'm gone. That's my job, to do that. Other than I can't march on, you know, Parliament with me pitchfork and like they did in the 1381 rebellion. I can't. I'm too old. I'm disabled. I can't do anything about it. So all I use is my way of getting through to my children, which is difficult enough. I've got their lives to live, but it's important that they get it and they pass it on. So what you're saying, Max, is if we just sit around, they sit around, then it's gonna pull them up quite easily. This singularity and technology and control more. I mean, it'd be very difficult for them if they don't catch up to fight it.
Well, yeah, they'll have no reference point is the thing. Like I said, they'll have no reference point. It's just becoming a normal part of their life. They're growing up with the tech, so they think it's normal, you know. And that's the thing is nobody's learning the old ways. Even educating your kids is one thing, but how many people go out and take them out and go camping and go build a cuppy house or go, you know, doing some of the old things we used to do, go digging in the garden. I mean, some of the stuff we used to do, get them a go-kart or a skateboard or something. Not an iPhone, for God's sake, you know.
It seems, Max, it seems the baby boomers are the last generation that are actually, you know, capable. But once we're gone and they don't grasp the nettle, it's too late for them.
Yeah, it will be. It will be too late if we can't start leading by example and calling this out. That's why I do what I do, and I get so passionate about it because there's not too many voices that are saying this anymore. There's not too many people that are pointing out the obvious to the ones that are coming up. You know, and if we're going to survive as a species, we have a responsibility to take the world back from the criminals that are running it.
Yeah, Max, you've got people like yourself in your country. You got the Ian Cranes in UK, who's used to be an oil baron. They're all being stopped using the mainstream media like Facebook, like YouTube, Snapchat, whatever. They're slowly being stifled. I think it was Tommy Robinson. He's completely been rubbed out now. He's been, you know, sorted out and choked with money or whatever. And you've got Ian Crane now having to dodge around to do a bit of video in a field. You've got, you know, who's been shut down, selling the packs. I forget his name. Mandy knows him. Met him up at the Bilderberg. This is what's happening. The people who are fighting it, like yourself, are slowly being rubbed out electronically, internet. So you've got the God-fearing man. What's his name? David Icke in Australia. They've banned him, haven't they? Yeah?
Yeah,
Because he was openness, big seminars out there, good to hear. But if he ever overcooks it, he starts to get rubbed out. And then there's no going back. Yeah. They disappearing like flies, yeah? So they're the people.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they just... That's what I say. You know, the revolution will not be televised, and the disappearance of people won't be televised. People just start dropping off the map and disappearing, and people will wonder, "Oh, gee, what happened to that guy? I haven't heard of him for a while." You know, so you know,
the likes of Tracy Dudar and Max Kaiser. I mean, they run the gauntlet now in cars and car parks all across the state of America. Keep running from them because, you know, they're going to get rubbed out.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
Hang on, mate.
That's the way it goes, brother. Listen, I'm starting to really lose bandwidth here.
Have you got a lot of
8:20 now, and no, but it's where I live, and it's 8:20 in the morning now. So you got people around me coming online. I think I'm finding it very difficult to hear what's being said to me.
If you don't mind, we can wrap up the show.
It's the problem. Maybe I'll try to get up. I'll try to get up earlier, and we'll do another one at some time.
Yeah, great.
It's because of where I live. It's just the bandwidth. It's a terrible bandwidth place.
No worries. Well, I appreciate your time for coming on tonight. It's been interesting talking to you about Singularity and the other things as well. And I just basically want to give you the chance now to put out your website and things like that. Yeah, just do a little plug if you want.
My website is thecrowhouse.com. You can find out everything about me there. There's nothing to buy. All the links to everything else I do, it's all there, thecrowhouse.com. Thousands of pages on that website now too. A lot of information. Please do share. Like I said, nothing to buy, no subscriber section. It's all free. It's just an effort to try to wake the world up to what's happening. So, and thanks for having me on, guys. And I will come back. Once I'm a little bit more settled, I can come back and I'll get up a little bit earlier because I'm usually up pretty early anyway. So I'll come back a little bit earlier, and we'll do it when we got more bandwidth, and we'll be able to have a more understandable conversation, because I'm missing out on a lot of what you're saying because it's just too choppy, unfortunately.
No worries. Well, thank you again.
Cheers,
My
Max.
pleasure, guys.
Cheers, Max. All the
Thanks,
best.
guys.
I just before you go, I used to watch your Crow House productions from long ago, so keep up the good work, my man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'll keep going till the wheels fall off.
Good man. Don't forget to keep playing that guitar.
Yeah. Cheers, Max.
Oh, that's
See you at the AFES, and hopefully I'll see you at one of the AFES again soon.
I didn't hear that, but I'm assuming it was a goodbye.
It was Paul.
So
it was Paul saying he's seen you at the Alternative View, and he's looking forward to seeing you at the next ones if you're there.
Okay, maybe next year. I won't be there this year, but maybe next year.
Okay, my friend.
Okay, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Talk soon. Sorry about this.
It's all right,
It's
no
been a
worries.
pleasure having you on the show, Max. Just before you go, can I just ask you one last question, if that's all right, sir?
Sure.
Is it order out of chaos or chaos out of order, in your opinion?
Well, kind of both. It goes from order. Well, it depends on the order. If you think of natural order,
I mean, order.
but the order out of chaos. I mean, the chaos they need to create, but the order that they want is the singularity. It's 5G. It's the smart grid. That's the order. We're already in the chaos. People are expecting the chaos to be some sort of a world war or something. We're already in it. The war's being fought against us, and it's being fought for a long time.
Thanks very much for your input on that. Much appreciated, Max, and look forward to having you on the show again sometime, mate.
Cheers, Max. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I do. I will definitely. I will definitely come back. I'll get up earlier. Maybe we'll do it in another 3 weeks or a month or so. We'll get up early and we'll do a one with better bandwidth.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Bye now.